Welcome back to those of you who have been hanging out with us. If you're new here, my name is Sarah. This is my little sidekick, Koala. We live in this van full-time, traveling around, sharing our adventures with you. Thinks that, oh, okay, yep. Koa's gonna steal the show this entire time, just to let you know. Okay. Koa, are you gonna talk to the camera? Because I don't think this is gonna work. Okay, let's try that again. We'll see how long I can talk before Koa needs my attention again. So for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to just answer as many questions as I possibly can. Thank you all for commenting on last week's video. That gave me a ton of ideas. And I'm going to answer just the most common questions that I've been getting over the last year or so that I have been doing content. Okay. First, I guess we should address the neediest thing in the room, which is my little love here, Koa. I am going to answer every single question that I've ever been asked on Koa in his own video in 2 weeks. I'm not going to go over Koa stuff because I'm actually going to do a dedicated video for him. I think he deserves it. And so this week is Q&A. Next week is going to be getting the van upgraded, which, by the way, it's ready to roll. Next week I will be at the shop and the van is going to get upgraded and fixed and maintenance, and we're going to get back on the road. And then the week after that is going to be a full Koa video. Everything you could possibly want to know about Koa. Let's start with, how did I get here? That's probably one of my most common questions. How did I wind up living in a van full time? How did I decide to just get on the road and get off and do this? What did I do before I lived in a van? I'm going to kind of mix that all into one quick storyline here. So a little background about me. I won't drag this out, but I'll try and just answer those questions as smooth as possible. I am 30 years old. I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. That's where the majority of my family is. I have a wonderful family that I'm super, super close with. I have an older brother and a younger brother. Some people were asking about siblings. I do have two brothers. One is in Arizona and one is back in Boston. So growing up in Boston, to kind of summarize my childhood, teenage years, all the way into college, I was completely obsessed with playing ice hockey. I started when I was 3 years old, and that wound up being really the cornerstone to how I grew up. My parents were extremely supportive of it, and they really let me chase that dream. So I wound up going to boarding school for high school in Lake Placid, New York, and playing there. And then my goal was to play Division I, and I did wind up being able to do that. I went to Northeastern University. I went to school for business, and I played hockey there for 4 years. It was absolutely incredible. I did go to college on mostly an ice hockey scholarship, so that really helped me once I got out of college to be, more financially stable than having 4 years worth of a big college tuition like that. Growing up, I started babysitting when I was a teenager. I always babysat in the summers. I absolutely loved it. And then all through college, I worked in the summers at bars and restaurants. Northeastern does a co-op program, so it's like a paid internship kind of thing in the summers. So when I got out of college, I was, feeling pretty good about finances and stuff like that. And I'm bringing this up because a lot of people are really curious about the financials around living in a van. Like, am I absolutely broke or am I a trust fund baby? Is like, it's like one or the other. So got out of college, again, super fortunate to not have come out with debt. That obviously really helped me out. I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I moved back with my family, which was amazing. I had been away for high school and for college, so it was really nice to go back and have some family time. My little brother was still living at home at that time as well. And I wound up working. My mom owns a hair salon. She still owns it to this day. She's an incredible businesswoman. And I wound up working for her full time for a couple years, just doing business stuff. My senior year, and then into those first couple years that I was working at the salon, I was also going to retreats and looking into personal training, nutrition, functional medicine, and stuff like that, because I thought it might be something I was interested in. And I did wind up getting into that field. So I met a bunch of people from Austin, Texas at these retreats. I wound up moving to Austin. I lived with now my best friend. I took an internship. That internship turned into a full-time job. I moved to Austin permanently. And I was there for a couple years working in personal training and nutrition. That is now my home base. Like, I built a really awesome community there. So I have my family back in Boston. I have all my friends and my community in Austin. My storage unit is in Austin. So that's kind of where I set up my home base. I had some ups, downs, some personal stuff happen all in between this, but we're not going to get into all of these things. I did wind up moving from personal training to being a ranch hand for about a year. I lived on a ranch full time and worked just manual labor stuff, 7:30 to 4:30, driving big tractors, and it was awesome. It was one of my favorite things that I've ever done. I had so much fun. And at that time I had the van. I just was kind of dabbling in it. It was something I was really interested in. So I got the van from Tommy Camper Vans. I got it on a loan. It cost me about $1,000 a month. So I was just doing weekend stuff, and then I was renting it out to kind of help pay the payments on it. About a year ago, a little over a year now, I was working at the ranch, and I decided I'm just going to save up as much money as I possibly can. And in my head, I was like, okay, once I save $20,000, I'm going to move into the van full time. And that's literally what I did. Okay, well, we're back to this problem. What did we get? Like 5 minutes? Hi, bud. Okay. In terms of like how did I even get into the whole van life thing, really the same way as I feel like everybody gets into it. They just kind of see it on social media and whatnot, and they're like, oh, that seems like something that's interesting. And I was already somebody that was very minimalistic in general, so I never really had a lot of things. I never had clutter, so it was very easy for me to downsize into a van. And I've always loved hiking and adventuring. I've always wanted to take Koa everywhere that I go, and I can't fly with him. So it made a lot of sense. And honestly, it was just one of those things where I felt like I wanted to try and see what happened. I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do it, let's see what full-time would be like. July 2024, so a little over a year ago, I put whatever I had in a storage unit in Austin, Texas, and I literally just took off in the van. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea where I was going. I just had $20,000 in the bank. I had a $1,000 van payment, which was cheaper than any mortgage or rent that I could find, and I was paying and owning something, so that made sense. I actually went dark for about 3 or 4 months. I told my family and friends that I was just going to take a little time for myself. I didn't really talk to anybody. I didn't have any social media. I really just went inward and spent some time with myself, time with Koa. I was out in nature and hiking all over the place, doing a lot of reflecting and meditating, and it was one of the most beautiful experiences I have ever had. I found so much peace and joy during that time of just letting the world slow down and go inward and close my eyes and understand that there is so much joy in just existing on this planet. I think that it can be really hard when everything is moving so fast and there's a society on the outside that is almost kind of telling you the way that things need to be and what you're supposed to do and all these things. And I've always just felt like I have had a hard time conforming to that. And I want to pave my own path and make my own way. And this was kind of a way for me to do that. I'm so grateful for that time that I took to really reflect and see how I wanted to move forward with my life. I knew I only had about 4 months before I was going to need to start making money again, and I never really worried about it. Everybody's like, I can't believe you took off with no job and no plan. Like, what were you thinking? And I just know myself, and I know that I can work really hard at whatever I am doing, and I will figure it out no matter what. Even if I worked at a coffee shop, I could have made enough money to get by. So around that 4-month mark, I just started thinking about what I wanted to do, and I knew that I didn't want to work for anybody. That was kind of a thing. I just really like doing my own thing, and I'm really independent. I also do have that business background and mindset, and I like creating and growing things and organizing and projects and stuff like that. So anyway, I just started seeing people doing all the social media stuff, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give it a try, because it seems like people are making a full-time living doing that. So what I really did, honestly, and I think this is what set me apart a little bit, and this is some advice if anybody is thinking about kind of getting into content creating stuff, from my own personal experience, I did not watch a bunch of channels and look up a bunch of stuff and try and learn, like, what everybody else was doing. I really just focused on doing my own thing and being really authentic to what felt like the type of content that I wanted to put out. So I just made a brand new Instagram account and I started posting whatever felt good. I don't know. I wanted to be helpful. I wanted to just share my life, share my energy, share how cute Koala is. I am somebody that once I start something, I go absolutely all in and put all my time, energy, attention into that thing to see if I can build it. And that is what I did with content creating. So I started a brand new Instagram that started to build after a couple months. And then I started a YouTube a few months later. I think it's been 5 months since I posted my first YouTube video. And it's just, I'm fumbling. Like, if it looks like I know what I'm doing, I really don't. Like, I literally feel like I'm flailing 24/7. Well, the star of the show is back on screen, and he's going to explain to you how I have been doing an absolutely horrendous job of balancing, like, doing content and just relaxing. Okay. Go lie down. Okay, anyway, I've just been absolutely horrendous at balancing how much time and mental energy I'm putting into creating and thinking about content, as opposed to taking time for myself and meditating and doing all the things that bring like peace and stability to my life. So in the last couple weeks, I have definitely recognized that I cannot keep going at that pace. I will burn out if I continue to do that. I'll have little stints where I will do a week or 2 or 3 of having a really good routine and getting up and meditating and doing all my things, and then I'll just completely fall off and start burning back out again. So I am trying to put some systems in place so that it is not just a 24/7 work schedule. I'm going to circle around here and wrap up the financial question because I get asked that all the time. How did I get here financially? What's my plan going forward? So as you can tell by now, I just worked my whole life, various jobs. I don't have a trust fund. I'm not completely broke. I don't know why that's the van life stigma. But I just have worked, and I've always been really financially stable and responsible. I've never got myself into credit card debt. I've always paid really close attention to my finances and saved money, all of those things. Did I take a little bit of a risk by saving 20 grand and taking off with no job and then going all into content creating, having absolutely no idea if it was going to work out? Yes, but sometimes you have to take risks, and sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. I see the light at the end of the tunnel with content creating. I'm making enough to get by right now. I'm making a couple grand a month just on, TikTok and Facebook views and YouTube ad revenue and stuff like that. But the real way to make this into a career is to start doing brand partnerships. That is the way that creators are able to make an actual comfortable living doing this. And that's something that I will start doing here in the future. I'll have to, because right now it's just kind of, a couple grand here and there and really volatile. Once I start to do more paid partnerships, which I just have to put the time into building those relationships, I will feel more comfortable with this as a career rather than right now. I'm just relying off of views and donations and stuff like that, which, by the way, anybody who has been donating to my channel, I cannot thank you enough because it's really helping me in this start out phase not have to take partnerships with random companies that I don't really want to work with. That's something that I've been really trying to avoid, and I have been able to avoid that step in the process by just relying on channel donations and ad revenue. So thank you for that. And here, pretty soon I will start to do paid partnerships, and just because that is the way that I will be able to continue doing content comfortably. So any support on sponsored posts and paid partnerships and stuff like that, I really, really appreciate it. That is what is going to allow me to be a full-time creator. Also, thank you for sitting through the ads on my videos. I don't really want you to have to watch them, but that's the only way that I'm getting by right now, is the ad revenue on YouTube is the major chunk of how I make money right now. I hope that answered the financial question. I have a lot of people asking if I have another job. I do not. This is my job, and I am putting every amount of effort I've ever put into anything into this. I've never worked so hard in my whole life. So this is my job, and I hope to continue this. I'm really, really enjoying it. And now we're going to bring ourselves into another question, which is, what is my plan? I have absolutely no idea. Am I going to live in a van forever? I have absolutely no idea. I guess I'll tell you some things that I do know and some more personal stuff so you can get to know me a little bit. For one, dating on the road is next to impossible as far as I'm concerned. I have not dated in years, and that's partly due to the way that I travel. I travel really fast. I'm usually in the middle of nowhere by myself. I don't do very many meetups or anything like that. So at some point, if I want to date, which I do, I would love to spend my life with somebody, and I want to have kids. I absolutely light up around kids, and I cannot wait to have a little baby of my own. So at some point I will have to settle down somewhere to some degree, at least even if it's for a month or two, just to kind of be in one place and have a better chance of meeting somebody rather than, living alone in the forest, which is essentially what I do right now. I also know that that is something that just will fall into place when it's meant to, and I don't worry about it whatsoever. It's more of just a thought that, I may have to make an effort to stay somewhere and, put myself in situations where I can meet people. That's all. Another thing that I can see myself doing, I think, is buying property and doing some sort of homesteading, building something, growing my own food. That feels like something that would really light me up. But again, I don't know, it depends on if I meet somebody or where I meet somebody or, where I wind up wanting to live. I don't know. So I don't worry about any of these things. It's just, it's out there, and whatever happens, happens. I'm just focusing on being the best version of me and being the happiest little self that I can be so that I can share that with the world. And that's it. Everything else feels like it will just fall in place when it's meant to. Okay, I know that was a little bit of a long storyline, but I feel like we just answered a lot of questions all at once. I wanted to give you a little bit more insight into how I got here, so hopefully you got to know me a little bit more. A lot of people ask about the financial stuff, so I hope that helps understand that portion of it. I got a lot of questions about what my plan is going forward. Hopefully I answered that as well. And now let's get into a couple more little specific questions that I got. Ton of workout routine and fitness questions, and as you all know now, I have been an athlete my entire life. I've always played hockey. That gave me a good foundation of being athletic and fit, and then I started lifting weights when I was about 13. I've lifted weights my whole life. I was a personal trainer for a couple years and nutrition coach. So I have a really good foundation. And then when I moved into the van, honestly, all of that dropped and I've essentially just been hiking. I did actually buy equipment recently, like a med ball and kettlebell and some bands to start doing a workout routine. I haven't been able to consistently get into that routine, to be honest. That's something that I'm going to try and do here in the future. So I don't have a ton of advice on that, except for just stay really active. And to be completely honest, for me, a lot of my fitness has just been built over a really long time of taking care of myself. Along with that, I did get quite a few questions about my wearables. I wear an Oura Ring and a Garmin. I absolutely love them. I look at my Oura Ring stats every single morning. It is crazy accurate for cycle tracking for the women out there who are interested in stuff like that. I really, really love it for that. And it shows me how I sleep. It shows my heart rate variability. I look at it every day and I absolutely love having it. Garmin, I use a lot for hiking stuff because it tracks my mileage and stuff like that. And then I can see my trails and it connects to All Trails, which is the app that I use for hiking. So highly recommend both of these. I absolutely love them. I was just reading some of the comments too, and somebody asked if my Oura Ring stats have changed post van life. Absolutely. I do not sleep very well in the van. I've gone over that before. It is a distinct change that my sleep stats are down anytime I'm sleeping in the van. That is just me. I am not saying that if you move into a van, you won't sleep well. I just don't for some reason. I sleep a lot better if I get to stay out of the van for a night. And that's totally fine. It's trade-offs, right? I don't get to see the most beautiful things in the whole world if I don't live in a van. So I'm totally fine with the lack of sleep. But absolutely, I am much more sleep deprived since moving into a van. Okay, a bunch of questions about getting into van life. There's one overarching recommendation that I always make, which is to rent a van. You can do it through companies like Outdoorsy. That's actually the company that I used to rent my van with when I was renting it before I moved into it full time. It's essentially like Airbnb for Sprinter vans or any type of van. I really recommend renting one that you think you would enjoy being in, the size, the layout, whatever else, so that you can get a feel for it. So rent it for a weekend or a week, maybe rent 2 different styles and just feel it out before you make any decisions. I think, in my opinion, that is the absolute best way to do it. Okay, some questions on address and health insurance and van insurance and stuff like that. So I'm a Texas resident. I was a Texas resident before I moved into the van, and a few years ago, I actually transferred my address to a company called Escapees RV Club. They are absolutely amazing. And it's this company that you're able to get a domicile and an address in either Texas, South Dakota, or Florida, I think, are the 3. So I transferred my entire life onto this address. It's a PMB, personal mailbox, not a PO box. So you can actually use it on your driver's license and credit cards and health insurance and car insurance and all those things. So my address is in Texas. I use that Escapees RV Club address. All my mail goes there. They have an app. It gets forwarded to me. It is absolutely incredible. I highly recommend looking into it if you're thinking about living on the road full time and you want to still have your own address and not have to use a family or friend's address. So that's been awesome for me. Like, I can file my taxes through it, everything. It is my own address. My health insurance, I have health insurance. It's just it's a weird thing that's hard to explain. It's kind of a reimbursement type thing, but the catastrophic is not reimbursement. I don't know. I'm not going to really go into it, but it's not specific to Texas. It's something that I can use everywhere, which was really important for me. So I am covered on health insurance. Van insurance, I go through a company called Primally, and I think they kind of shop the best policies, and I wound up with a Progressive policy, but my agent is from Primally. They make sure that your van is covered for the build out and for the vehicle itself. So Primally, Progressive, if anybody is looking for insurance, that has been awesome for me. I'm jumping around here a little bit, but I feel like that's how these Q&As usually go. A lot of people ask how I plan my travel. I do not. Like, I literally don't know what I'm doing essentially day to day. I have a little bit of a route in mind. Like, in my head, I was going to do this summer, California, Oregon, Washington, Canada. It is September and I'm still in California, but I've had a bunch of things kind of go off with the van and my suspension stuff and whatever else, and I got stuck in certain places, and Koa needed surgery, so I wound up in Arizona for a month. So I have no idea. I just go day to day. The way that I structure, like, the few days ahead of me, to be honest, is the weather. I look on All Trails for hikes that I want to do, and I look on iOverlander for places that I want to sleep. Those three things pretty much dictate my life. The weather, All Trails hikes, and iOverlander spots to sleep. And I just kind of go from there. And then content, just whatever is feeling like the next video that I want to do, I kind of move towards that and go from there. So nothing is really planned. At any moment, I could go a completely different direction, and that is totally fine. To go along with that, I kind of stay on the route of where there are National Forest and Bureau of Land Management, because those are the easiest places to find spots to sleep, and they're dog friendly. I don't do a ton of national parks because I can't hike with Koa in national parks, and you guys know that I absolutely love hiking with Koa. So I just try and stay near places that will be easier for me to find spots to sleep. The East Coast is much harder to find places to sleep because there's not as much public land. So that's why you see a lot of van lifers on the West Coast, because there's more public land to sleep on. Ooh, this is a good one. Do I get lonely? I actually get asked that a lot. And to be honest, I really don't, and I'll explain why. I have kind of come to a place in my life that I really enjoy hanging out with myself. Like, I enjoy my own company thoroughly. And I feel like that's really important, and that's something that I've put a lot of time into, because I want to be just the happiest, most joyful, full life that I can be on my own, so that I can share that with the world. I would say even since I was a kid, though, I've always been naturally really independent and comfortable hanging out alone. So that doesn't mean that I don't love social interaction. Like, I miss my friends and my family dearly. We'll probably go back to Austin and Boston this winter and visit everybody. And I can socialize with the best of them, but I also can just disappear into the forest for weeks completely by myself and have the greatest time. So I would say I am more introverted. I have no problem socializing, but I really cherish my alone time, because that is time that I take to really reflect and just become the happiest version of me. Okay, I've mentioned this a few times that I have, over the last probably 8 years or so at this point, been transferring all of my products that I use to natural products as much as possible. I'm going to share a few quick things on these. 2 of these are companies that I am now affiliated with, which is such a dream, because one of them, my skincare products, I have been using for 3 or 4 years before I, even had the iota of a thought that I would exist on social media. So to be able to work with them now is really awesome. All of my skincare is from a company called Primally. They use 100% natural ingredients. The scents are amazing. I don't know what a blue tansy is, but let me tell you, it is heavenly. Over the years, I've used their deodorant, lotions, face creams, chapstick, you name it, I've bought it, and I have absolutely loved all of their products. They launched a sunscreen this summer, and it is by far the best natural sunscreen that I have used, and I have tried so many. I do have an affiliate link with them now, which is so cool. I'm really happy that I can extend that all to you. I did link it down in the description, and any support with that, I really do appreciate it because it is a new partnership for me, and if it goes well, then I can continue to work with them, which would be pretty cool. In terms of cleaning products, I have been to the gamut. I have literally used every natural cleaning product on the market in the past couple years, and I was having a hard time landing on one, to be completely honest. But recently, I did finally land on an entire product line that I have loved. I've been using it for months. All of these products are from Koala Eco, and they finally ended my search because they use all plant-derived ingredients. Even their scents are from Australian essential oils. Lastly, and most importantly, they don't leave streaks, and they actually work. Both of these product lines are things that I really, truly believe in, and I'm happy to be able to bring to you and share them. Hopefully they help you out as well. Okay, how did I get so organized? I have always been like this. Like, since I was a kid, I have always just cleaned my room, made my bed, did my laundry. I actually really enjoy it. Like, I love creating a space to feel homey and cozy and full of life and plants, and it's just something that I really enjoy and I have my entire life. For me, it's how I feel when I walk into a space. So it's something that I'm really passionate about. One of my favorite things is when somebody walks into the van and mentions how it feels and how it brings peace to their body. I absolutely love that. I actually thought about doing that as a career at one point, just kind of going into people's houses and helping them organize and declutter and minimize their life so that there's not so many things around that they don't use or haven't cleaned or whatever else. I never really got into it, but Koa, you really are the star of the show, huh, bud? So many questions about Koa, and as I said in the beginning of the video, I promise I will answer everything you could possibly want to know about Koa in his video in about 2 weeks. What are my monthly expenses living in a van? This is really personally dependent. So my answer to this is not telling you how much it would cost you to live in a van per month, but I'll give you my personal experience to give you an idea. So I write down everything that comes out of my bank accounts and credit cards in a spreadsheet so that I can see how much it costs me to live. And between my payment for the van, insurance, I have a truck back in Austin, so insurance for that, health insurance, Koa's insurance, my phone bill, Amazon, Spotify, subscriptions, my storage unit, Planet Fitness membership, all of those things. Fixed expenses for me comes down to $1,910 per month, so about $2,000 I know for sure I need to live. And then on top of that, it's food and gas. No utilities. My electricity is free. I'm able to find water for free, so I don't have utility bills. Gas is really dependent on how fast you travel and what the gas prices are. So here in California, it is over $5.50 a gallon for diesel. That's a lot. But you go right over the state line to Nevada and it is in the threes. So it depends on gas prices. It really depends on where you're going, where you are, how fast you're traveling. So again, that's not an overarching, like, this is how much it costs to live in a van. It's just, I think it's really personal dependent. For me, I need at least $3,000 a month per se, and then things go sideways. I just spent $2,000 last month on maintaining the van and a whole bunch of grands on the suspension upgrade. So you never really know. You just kind of have to be prepared for whatever your baseline is, and then things can go wrong. So be prepared for that as well. Our little love here is awake and wanting attention. I think that's actually most of the questions that I got. If I didn't answer your question, I'm sorry. I actually will try and go in my comments and answer some of the smaller questions that I didn't address in this Q&A. Just a reminder to check out the description if you have time. I will usually link products and things that we talk about in the videos down there. So I'll link Primally Pure and Koala Eco. I also have an Amazon storefront that has a ton of stuff in it that I use for van life. I have my donation channels down there as well. And again, thank you so much for any support on affiliate links, Amazon store, sponsored posts, donation channels, all of those things really mean the world to me, and it is helping me so much as I build my channel. So I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that. Do you want to go on a walk? You've been so patient. All right, we'll see you all next week for the big van upgrade. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you soon.